Attention.
Let's talk for a second. Higher ed is moving fast, and not everything we're doing is keeping pace. Either you move with the future, or you get left behind. Insights EDU is where leaders find out what actually works. February 17th to 19th in Fort Lauderdale. Register at insightsedu.com. Ellucian Live 2026 is taking place April 19th through 22nd, 2026 in Denver, Colorado. Advancing infinite possibilities. Turn innovation into action with AI-powered solutions, student-first strategies, and a global network of fellow leaders at Ellucian Live 2026, higher education's premier global technology conference. It's going to be
amazing.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you on another episode. What will be my very final recording of 2025. You'll hear this in 2026 because I don't think we're going to put that many out over a Christmas break. Although co-founder of the EdUp Experience podcast, Alvin Freitas, is an absolute production machine. He just spits out these episodes. Of course, we have many to put out because we record every day, Monday through Friday. And so we do this a lot. But this is my very last conversation and an important one. Because there's so much to talk about, and I have a very good guest co-host with me. It's important for her because she has an announcement. She didn't know that she's going to make an announcement. She is going to announce something that happened very recently for her that's awesome. And since this doesn't come out to 2026, she can reveal it here because it won't come out till way later. So most people already know, but since we have you here, my amazing guest co-host, she's Christy Siegel. She's from Ellucian, and I won't give you her title because it's going to change.
Well, thank you, Joe Salustio. Appreciate that. Yes, as of 3 days ago, I have a new title as Senior Vice President of Managed Services and Executive Business Development at Ellucian after 22 years, and I'm excited to greet the new year and the future in a little bit more expanded role. And, they keep me around so I can hang out with people like you, Joe. And presidents like Keith. Yeah.
Don't give away the guest yet, Christy. That's okay. We know his name is Keith, but we don't know anything else about him. But no, congratulations to you, honestly, Christy. There is not, and I've told you this, anyone in the world more deserving of that recognition than you, a true road warrior. And I tell this story, I've told it to my wife often. I very rarely, in fact, like super rare, maybe one other person that has more Marriott nights over their lifetime than me. And I'm at like 1,500 Marriott nights in my career. And I said, Christy's got to be more than me. She travels more. I want to feel good about myself and that there's somebody that spends more time on the road than me. Super selfish. And you've been like, yeah, I think I'm more. And you were afraid to show me. And then I showed you where to look and you're at like 2,300 nights in Marriott's. And I said, well, there's a true road warrior right there.
Yeah. I don't even know how to do the math on that. It just, if you divide it by years, it's probably, I've been on the road a lot.
It's fuzzy math.
It's fuzzy math. And I spend a lot of time with presidents and higher education leaders at conferences. And this year, I actually counted them up, Joe. I've been to 18, which is a record year on the higher ed circuit for me. So
wow. Well, you do get around, and it's a pleasure to have you here. And I know our guest is going to appreciate it as well. Let's get him in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Dr. Keith Newman. He's the president at Southern Nazarene University. Keith, welcome to the EdUp Mic. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to meet you, Joe, and Christy. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good to have you here. And
we're Ellucian users and fans here at Southern Nazarene.
Oh, well, wonderful. Glad to hear that.
Well, we want to hear about your work, Keith. We want to hear about what's going on at Southern Nazarene University. So as we say to every guest who comes on, where are you? Who do you serve, and how do you serve them? Give us the elevator.
Yeah, well, we're located just right outside of Oklahoma City, really surrounded by Oklahoma City, Bethany, Oklahoma. Southern Nazarene University has been around since 1899, so 126 or 7 years, something like that at this point. We're a small Christian liberal arts university with just a real variety. We have one of the uniques. Let's see. I started to create a word, which I do often. So let me start again because I don't think it's really a word. Let me say this a different way. There are not a lot of schools in the world like us in that we have a lab school that starts with pre-K, and it next year will go all the way through high school. The lab school's been a part of SNU's history really for most of the school's history. But we also have doctoral programs. So we're I'm told, one of four schools in the world where you could start as a pre-Ker and go all the way through and get your doctoral degree, should you so choose.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is kind of amazing and it's kind of crazy. They told me that there's only four in the world like that, and we are the only Christian school in that particular
To
category.
be
So
one of anything in higher education is amazing. It really is.
it's kind of unique, but it's fun. It's Christmas time. I know this won't play till next year, but one of the favorite parts of my job is that about this time every year I get handmade Christmas cards from the lab school. And I think this must be an annual project for them, but they literally give them some construction paper and crayons and writing instruments, and they create um, cards, handmade, homemade, whatever you want to describe it as. It features their artwork, and then they write letters to me, and the letters are filled with questions, and they're kind of hilarious questions. I write to the campus every Friday. That's part of my tradition that I've been doing. This is my ninth year at SNU. And almost every year I write about some of the questions that the kids are asking because they're just they're hilarious. And they're questions that some of them you could imagine, but some of them are questions that I don't think I ever really thought about when I was their age. So it's a fun thing.
That's
That's great.
awesome. And I want to just sort of get into it a little bit because, um, if you think about ending 2025, going in 2026, and you look back 3, 4, 5 years, you've been there 9, which is more than the average, right? The average is like come down now to I think under 5. It's like 4 and change. So there's some longevity is such an important part of this. But 3, 4 years ago, if you said this sentence, that you gave a sentence, and if you said this same sentence, people would go, uh oh, and it was that we're small, Christian, and liberal arts. And people would have gone, that school's in trouble. They're not going to make it. Like there's always something that we say where it's going to, just somebody's in peril. What has kept your school going, healthy, and what's kept you there for 9 years?
Well, I love the mission, and again, our mission is a little bit different than a lot of schools, and we talk about a purposefully different brand of education. We never say purposely better. It's just purposefully different. Our mission is to make Christ-like disciples through higher education, and it is interesting in that I think you're exactly right. 3 or 4 years ago, if somebody had said that, yeah, I think there would have been a lot of question. We're watching schools, as you know, close
Yep.
almost on a weekly basis, for sure, monthly, and certainly a lot of them, even in our own denomination, we experienced a closing this last year, and it too was a school that was well over 100 years old, closed up in the northeast part of the country. We benefited from a lot of things, but I think that that commitment to the mission has been at the heart of it. We actually have experienced the largest incoming freshman class in 42 years this
Wow.
last fall,
Wow.
which was very exciting for us. Our adult and graduate program is the largest that it has been since it began in 1986. And we had our biggest fundraising year in the history of our school. And again, compared to a lot of schools, that might not be as significant. But for us, there's lots of signs that are pointing upward, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But really, at the heart of all of it is just commitment to that mission and everybody pulling in the same direction and believing that what we do matters.
Let me just say before I pass it to you, Christy, that what you just said matters a lot too. When you say, you know, a record fundraising year, but it may not mean a lot to other schools who have. But we always forget when we compare, your budget's probably smaller than that other school that says that you know, your cost structure is smaller. So comparatively, on a scale to scale basis, it's huge to be able to have a record year of any kind. And because we like to compare, well, you know, this school versus that school's got 40,000 students and this one has, you know, 4,000. There's a big difference in scale. So congratulations to you and the progress, Christy.
Yeah, in light of that, I was on a discussion just a couple days ago with Western Governors University, which is 300,000 students now online. I mean, and you just think of the scale and you know, still the mission is to serve the students, but they're just serving their population in a very different way than you're obviously serving your population. So I guess I would ask, and I'm very intrigued, obviously, with the lab school and the fact it's a K-12.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
it's
pre-K through 12. Yeah.
K through 12. My kids both went to a laboratory school that was a turned into a charter school, but its basis was at the University of Northern Colorado, here where I live. And then it went charter status. But I always thought it was a family value education. They came through those 12 years with their friends and their cohort. And I guess that probably does a lot to lend itself towards them turning to you for their education. And then how do you then go out and market to those that are not part of the lab school? How do you bring in those? How did you bring in that big freshman class is my burning question.
Yeah. Well, again, I think it's I've thought about enrollment in a lot of ways, and schools like SNU or schools that not that other schools don't have to work hard, but there are plenty of schools that you know, its reputation, and certainly we recruit students from our alumni base. We've got all of those kinds of things as well, but I think athletics has been a big part for us for a long time. Talking about podcast where you can talk about things that are going great. I will tell you, Little Southern Nazarene University in Bethany, Oklahoma, just won the national championship in women's rugby a couple of
Let's go.
Saturdays ago.
Oh,
And when
you're
I
talking
say,
to a former women's rugby player in college, so I'm very,
That's
very
why we
happy.
don't mess with Christy.
Don't mess with
well,
me. That's right. That's right. That's awesome.
and Christy, this is for all schools. You know, we play Division 1 with the National Collegiate Rugby Association, I think is what it is. We're an NCAA Division 2 school, but uh, the rugby, women and men's rugby play outside of the NCAA. But that's a great achievement, and
Mhm.
literally we have young women and young men from all over the world that have come here to play rugby. We're more of early adopters, I think. You know, a lot of places it's still a club sport, but for us it's a scholarship sport, and that's been a big deal. And we're really proud of them. They worked hard. This is only their 4th year, I believe, in existence. So to be a startup program and go to a national championship in 4 years. A lot of coaches, a lot of schools would like that. But it's about academics too. We've
Mhm.
got really strong academic programs, and love what we see in business and in nursing and in theology and ministry and kinesiology and psychology across the board. Uh, we we do recruit students from you know, a wide uh, berth of places, but certainly we benefited from Oklahoma City as the home of the reigning NBA champions, and Oklahoma City is a happening place, and we've got lots of commuter students that come to campus as well. Again, our big challenge right now actually is housing, and trying to figure out how we can have enough housing for next year. So that occupies a lot of meetings. And then, you know, we're an older campus, as I mentioned, 1899. We've got some buildings office that I'm sitting in right now, I think, was built in 1919. It's the oldest building on campus, and so deferred maintenance is a fun thing that we get to deal with on a regular basis too. But we're only talking about positive things today, right? So we're not talking about
deferred maintenance is one of those things that we just have to talk about no matter what. But it's like one of those. It exists. It just exists.
Yeah, you probably don't have any sound effects for deferred maintenance, but
I got a bad feeling about this.
That's I like that. That's
a good one.
When people come in to talk to me about HVAC systems, I need that to push that button. Yeah, I have a bad feeling about
the toilet is not flushing in building 2. That's
yeah.
How many students do you have that reside on campus?
We've got about 1,000 students that are on campus, and so overall, the school is our enrollment's just under 2,500.
Yeah, when you think about, by the way, the challenges that we have in higher ed, if you have lower enrollment, you've got deferred maintenance, and you're scrambling to try to get your resident, your filled room percentage up to 95%, right? And why do we always try to get it to 95? Well, you need 5% to play with because students have mental health concerns, or they have dietary restrictions, or need to live on their own. But 95% sort of like that key, rooms are full at 95% capacity. Or you have so many students, you're getting to capacity. Deferred maintenance exists still, but at least it's on the good side. And what a problem to have that you can start shoving 5 students in a 3-person room, right? I mean, like, that's what happens with the conversations you have. It's like, how many students do you think we could fit in that room? You never really do that. But those questions from a joking perspective come up. But then it's like, okay, what do you do when you actually have no more space? What a great problem to have, right?
I know. Do you rent a hotel? I mean, or do you go? I mean, I'm sure you want to build things, but what do you do immediate and short term?
Yeah, and you do have to be creative. And I think I've never been trusted to run a big soundboard, but I do feel like sometimes that what we do is like running a big soundboard, because if you touch one knob, it has an impact on something else. And so
Surprise!
You can start thinking about more in a room, but then you've got retention issues that come with that, and you do need some space. Again, when you've got an older campus, we dealt with just some maintenance issues related to plumbing. That's not a good thing. Young ladies do not appreciate any kind of plumbing challenges. I don't think young men do either, but young men may be able to handle it better than the young ladies. No, we've been creative. We are in again a small community surrounded by a large city, but we own some residential housing, and so we've taken back some residential housing that we've rented. That's been alternative streams of revenue, and that's where we've housed some. We've partnered with some friends that own an apartment complex in the area, and rented some of their places. And now we're looking at, again, some potentially some building of some residential space that maybe could be converted back to an apartment or rental space for the community once we get to the place where we either have a new dorm, or we've renovated some existing dorms to make them more in this century as opposed to the last century.
Yeah, you kick out the seniors. That's what you do. It's like, seniors and juniors, get out of here. We need room for freshmen. I mean, when it comes down to it, that's such a tough situation. But when you get to the point where you have to be creative because you're generating more revenue versus you have to start making cuts because your revenue isn't where you want it to be, it's just a different feeling. The creativity genes start going off when you're trying to be creative to house students because you have so many, versus I don't want to call it creativity, but the knife slicing that you have to do on the other way. And it's a great position to be in, and it also becomes a tool for marketing, right? Because you can go out to those students in the area and you can say, we've had record enrollment, we have record fundraising, consider us. It becomes part of your brand.
Yeah, you understand how that works. And of course, for us, adjusting the housing policies always is an option. But because we believe that the life of the campus and what takes place on our campus is so much a part of that purposefully different brand of education, we really resist that as long as we can. It certainly happens, and we certainly have some seniors and some grad students that live off campus. And as I mentioned, we have commuter students, but with all of them, we want to keep them engaged. We want them to be a part of student life on campus. It's one of the things that I love about our athletes is that, our athletes are involved. A lot of campuses, they kind of keep to themselves and do their own thing, but for us here, they're a part of everything that's going on, and just makes for a great place to serve.
Go ahead, Christy.
Definitely. No, I was just thinking about you had said earlier too. You had your largest fundraising effort in this recent year, coinciding with this large freshman class. So where the boost in fundraising? Where's it coming from? Donors or foundations or?
Yeah, it's been our alumni and friends primarily. Um, we, I think fundraising is all about confidence, and I think when people have confidence in an organization, whether it's a university or the local um, Red Cross or whatever it is. Fundraising been a part of something I've done for a long time, and I do think that when people have confidence that their money is being stewarded well, they can see the results, both in improvements in the physical space on campus, but also with enrollment. Investment begets investment, and we've seen an increase in volunteers, which again is a great sign for fundraising. So you want it to last, and I think that's the thing that every president thinks about is okay. I've joked about the fact that this would be a great year to retire. Um, the board just actually extended my term here if I want to stay for another 5 years, beginning next July 1st. And
Outstanding.
yeah, well, and I appreciate their confidence that I'll still be around 5 years from now. I'm not nearly as young as you two, but I love what I'm doing, and I love the fact that there is good confidence in the team, and it really is a team approach. My favorite definition of team is a group of interdependent people committed to a common cause who choose to collaborate in order to achieve exceptional results. And I think every piece of that is really, really important. As you guys know, because you work on college campuses or you have worked on college campuses, you're on college campuses on a regular basis, serving them. We're so interdependent. What happens in the lunchroom affects what happens in the residence hall, and what happens in the classroom has an effect on what happens in chapel or on the football field. And so getting everybody pulling in the same direction, understanding that we're not in competition with each other, we're collaborating because we want this great experience for students, academically, socially, spiritually. So certainly we've benefited from that in recent days, and I just hope that don't mess it up some way.
Yeah.
Keith, I was reading a little bit about you, and I'm going to ask you an actual legitimate question versus a personal curiosity in a second. But in your bio, it says that you love to read stories, hear stories, and tell stories. And I'm going to ask you a question about stories in a second that's related to higher ed. But then I was like, oh, let me just read this a little bit deeper. And the part about how you met your wife is interesting. Assuming this is you, and it says that you met your wife at the Houston Police Department where she was a sergeant assigned to the homicide division. And immediately I'm going, what's Keith doing in the homicide division? And then I read a little bit later. It says your wife typed a school paper for you when you got tied up on a case, and I'm like, what's happening? You're in the homicide division, and then she was helping you with your schoolwork. Is that is that what's happening here?
Let's go
to insightsedu.com. Remember that URL, because let's be honest, how much of what you're doing at work right now is actually working? It's time to inject fresh ideas and effective strategies. And Insights EDU is for these leaders that want to see results. The conversations are direct. The sessions are outstanding. and the people in the room are there to solve real problems, not protect the status quo. Insights EDU 2026 is February 17 to 19 in Fort Lauderdale. No fluff, no recycled playbooks, just what works now. Register today at insightsedu.com. Ellucian Live 2026, April 19th through 22nd in beautiful Denver, Colorado, advancing infinite possibilities. And it's higher education without limits. Don't just keep up with change, lead it. Higher education leaders from around the world are coming together at Ellucian Live 2026. Across 4 unforgettable days, discover new ways to meet students where they are and make the most of your technology through inspiring sessions and hands-on demos. Together, we're leveraging AI to create deeper human connections, support every student's journey, and open doors to lifelong learning. See you in Denver. Register now at elive.ellucian.com. It's going to be
Amazing.
Yeah, Joel, all that's true. I joined the Houston Police Department after my freshman year of college. In those days, they allowed this in Houston. They don't allow it anymore. They shouldn't have allowed it then, but they recruited starting at 19 years of age. So I joined the Houston Police Department as a 19-year-old. Instead of going back for my sophomore year of college, I went to the police academy and graduated, and eventually did return to school, but served for 9 years as a Houston police officer. 6 of those 9 years, I was a homicide detective. My wife and I worked at the same building, main police station, I guess for the first few years, but we never knew each other. We worked different shifts and we worked in different divisions. We ended up in homicide. Um, this could be a long story, so I'll make it short. But uh, being a homicide detective, although this may be the most interesting thing in the podcast for anybody that's listening, because most people haven't been homicide detectives, but being a homicide detective is a very, very strange job because literally you go to work waiting for somebody to die or to be murdered. I know that's kind of terrible to think about, but that is the way that it works. And so in most major cities, you have a partner, and you and your partner are on a list that they post each day, and it's a rotation kind of a situation, so that when a homicide comes in, there's not competition over who gets to go out on that particular call. So my partner and I came in one day, and we were first out, and sure enough, there was a homicide, and we went out, we investigated it. We came in the next day, so we're at the bottom of the list, and I had a paper due for school the next day. Again, I'm a lot older than you all are. This is in the days of everything was done for school on an IBM Electric Selectric typewriter. You could and had recording, not recording, and had correcting tape on it. Again, you guys will have to Google that or look that up to even know what that looks like. But I can still picture those green typewriters. And my plan was, like most college students, wait till the last minute. I had kind of penciled out the paper that I was writing, and had written about half of it, and I was going to make up the rest of it when I sat down at the typewriter when I got off that night. And sometime in that evening, our lieutenant came and got my partner and I, took us to his office, and handed us a 3x5 card with another assignment. And we kind of protested, saying that no, we're last out. Well, in this particular situation, an officer had been involved in the shooting, and when that happened, they threw out the list and they sent whoever they wanted to send. And so they sent us, which meant that I wasn't going to be able to type the paper that was due for school the next day. What I didn't know about my wife at that point, that I've now learned, because we just celebrated a couple weeks ago 43 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
I didn't know, but my wife is one of those people that if she knows that somebody has a need, and the need can be served in a quiet way, uh, changing a diaper, um, weeding a flower bed, uh, baking a cake, anything that's off stage, she's all about it. So she came and wanted to type the paper, and I, protested, said, really possible to do that. I didn't have enough written. And she said, well, I've read the book you got to write the paper about. I think I can help you. And I protested again. And she finally said, what have you got to lose? And I said, well, I guess, nothing. So a few hours later, while I'm, typing about bullets and blood, she comes in with a paper that's done. And so I offered to take her to dinner to pay her back, and didn't think it was a date. And we're now 45 years
42
later
years.
or something.
See,
So
now that's a
That-
good story. And
That is a great
the
story.
moral of the story is that you used AI. It just happened to be your wife back then, right? You used the first makings of AI. And it's funny because now you think about a story like that in the context of higher education. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I knew there had to be a very cool story behind something like that. But if you appreciate storytelling in our industry, you can get to the point where you appreciate that the story has been hijacked from us in many ways by higher ed detractors, by people questioning the value proposition of higher ed, because we haven't told effective stories. And I think that I don't know that there are many people that would disagree with me there. We lost the narrative somehow about the value of higher ed and why it's important. What story do we need to be telling, Keith, to help restore that value, to bring back the conversation? What are we missing?
yeah, that's a great intro. And of course, I didn't know what questions you were going to ask me today, but thanks for the question. I think if I was going to speak to people in higher ed, I would just remind them that every student that darkens our doors or lightens our doors, I guess I would rather say, they have a story. They're bringing their story with them, and we don't know what their story is when they sign up for classes. And likewise, they don't know the story of their professor or the person that ends up being their roommate. But you've got this intersection of stories, and I think as those stories are shared with one another, there are things and I love your reference to AI, and it's kind of fun these days trying to figure out how AI can help us. But AI is not going to be able to to allow us the interaction that you have face to face with somebody, where you hear their story. We have a young man that graduated just a couple of weeks ago. He's headed to medical school. And I promise you, if you met him, his name is Josh. If you met Josh and you spent 2 minutes with him, you would say, "Man, if I ever need a doctor, I would choose him because he's just that kind of a guy." But the story of how he got here is crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I was speaking at a church event in Louisiana, and his uncle, who had immigrated to the United States from India, heard me talking about our acceptance rate to medical school, which is extremely high. And he came to me when it was over and he said, I didn't even know Southern Nazarene University existed. He said, I've only been in the country for a short period of time. I have a nephew back in India that wants to be a doctor. What do you think the chances are that he could come to Southern Nazarene University? Well, it's always a kind of a loaded question. As you all know, there's a lot involved in all that. You don't know whether or not there's going to be the funding to be able to do that. But the end of the story is that it wasn't that fall, but in January of the next year, after I had spoken in Louisiana, I meet this young man for the first time, and I didn't know exactly who he was, but as I began to ask questions at his new student orientation, I said, "Your uncle lives in Louisiana." And he said, "Yeah." I said, "You got here?" And he said, "Yeah, I got here." But watching him on this campus, now knowing that, again, he's headed off to medical school, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to excel in medical school. That's what we have to keep reminding ourselves, is that it's about that one. And AI is not gonna do it. AI is a tool. It's a great tool, and I think we're unpacking and figuring out how to use it. But it's still about that face-to-face interaction. It's hearing each other's stories. It's learning about each other, and the impact that that intersection then creates a whole new story. And for us, it'd be the SNU story. For the school across town, it'd be the Oklahoma City University story. But it goes on all of our campuses. And it's a great story.
It is. Okay. I have to know, how did the homicide detective get to the current status of the president of a small Christian liberal arts college? I must know.
Yeah, Christy, that's probably a story for another podcast.
Ah,
It's a long story, but again, I'll give you the what I think is the Reader's Digest version. When I finished college, my undergraduate degree, I took the assignment that I had really gone to college to take, which was to be a pastor. And so I became a pastor, and I was a pastor for 17 years in the Church of the Nazarene. Little crazy side note, I was a board of trustee member as a pastor at the school where I'm serving now as president. I first came to the school to play in a basketball tournament when I was 14 or 15 years old. And I can promise you, in the years that I played basketball here as a high school kid in these annual tournaments, in the years that I served on the board of trustees here, I never dreamed in a thousand years that I would become the president of this university or any university. But been in higher ed now for 23 years. I moved here after being the chancellor of the residential campus at Indiana Wesleyan University in Marion, Indiana. It's a school of about 12 or 13,000, about 3,500 students on campus in those days. And so um, I think I just kept saying yes. And I think, if you say yes to the right things in life, um, there's a verse of scripture, and again, I don't know, you guys may want to edit this out, but there's a verse of scripture in Ephesians, the third chapter, that says that, God will do exceedingly abundantly more than you can ever ask or dream or imagine. And, that'd be my testimony. That's my story. I feel like God's done exceedingly abundantly more than I could have ever asked or dreamed or imagined as a kid growing up in a single parent family, the oldest of four kids, first generation college student. That's a story that, again, nobody can take your story away from you, and nobody can take
mhm.
that story away from me. And so I love stories.
I can tell. I can tell. And you deliver them well. You should do a podcast, Keith.
I don't know about podcasts, but I've written 3 books, and I'm working on a fourth. So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome.
As you think about that and you move forward, kind of pulling this all the way full circle to the record enrollment that you have in freshman class, the reality that we still have students that are leaving higher education at a rate that none of us would prefer, because they have either a bad experience or they don't have the academic pathways outlined for them, or sometimes we have students that take too many credits because they didn't understand things and they get into debt and they drop out. We still have this giant population of some college and no credential students that is available to colleges and universities out there. What are you doing from a retention perspective? Anything innovative, technological, human based, where you go, what, we need to up our efforts in this area now because we have more students coming in?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question. I think that is a key because if your back door is wide open and you're just letting people pass through, and we all know that it's much more costly to recruit a student than it is to retain a student. So yeah, we've worked hard at retention. We have put some systems in place, so we are using technology, early identification of students that are missing class, or they're not as involved in some of the activities on campus that we believe are keys to retaining them. Again, wanting everybody to realize that retention is all of our job. Everybody
Yep.
from the folks that are in the cafeteria or the coffee shop, to the coaches that are on the fields and the courts, and to certainly to the professors and the resident directors. Again, I think it's one of the reasons why a place like SNU does have the opportunity to hear the stories. And again, don't have time for this today, but I know of stories where literally it was a phone call and an invitation to an intramural team that kept a student there, and in one case literally kept a student alive. And
Mm.
so knowing somebody's name, getting engaged with them, making sure that they have the proper academic support, social support, and it's a never ending challenge. But again, it's a life and it's important. And I'd be the first to say too, and I know you guys would as well, that college isn't for everybody. But but one of my favorite expressions is the longer the perspective, the better the decision. The longer the perspective, the better the decision. So getting that freshman who has, failed a class or has been dumped by a boyfriend or a girlfriend, getting them to think about the longer perspective about the decision that they're going to make and not leaving, not quitting. Again, the preacher part of me is going to come out here for just a second, but we are a society of quitters. If something gets hard, whether it's a job or it's school or it's a marriage or whatever, we just tend to say, well, we're going to go try someplace else. And again, I think the Bible talks about that too. Suffering produces character, and or suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. So, how can we hang on to them so that they will persevere and they'll finish? Because we don't want them quitting a job or a marriage or a family or life.
I like
Yeah.
that.
So good, Christy. Go ahead. If I just
No,
love
I'm
the
just, I
insight.
just, I just think that message is a great, it's a great ending message. Honestly, the
Well, I
perseverance.
just I just want to add that we're so engineered for impatience, for short perspectives now, right? I mean, you think about all the kids, adults. Let's just say all of us we're on 10-second videos, or we're flicking through because something didn't give us Uber's like one of my favorite examples, where I joke when I do presentations and stuff, but when Uber says it's going to take 10 minutes, nobody has the conversation internally going, wow, 10 minutes is a very reasonable amount of time. I think I'm going to sit here and wait patiently. Like none of us have that patience. We're like, let's get it down to 2 minutes. I'm not going to wait. And I might spend 8 minutes getting it down to 2 minutes. But that's the way we're becoming engineered as humans. It's the way that the technology is servicing us. And then as a student, when you're talking about somebody who's 18 or a normal college age, traditional college age, they're even, well, I'm going to say worse, but engineered even faster, multiple 10-second things happening around them, and still being able to pay attention to all of them at the same time. But then when something happens, the perseverance isn't very strong. It's like, oh, well, I just can't do that. I'm just not going to do that. It's just not for me. And it becomes an easy way to give up on yourself.
Yeah, checking out can be the default. And again, I think when we stick with something, it's amazing what we learn about other people and about ourselves. And if we can just get them to do that a time or two, then I do think it does. I don't know whether it gets easier or better, but maybe there's less of a temptation to quit.
Christy, I do that with my kids because they do jujitsu. And I'm like, you know what? You broke your leg. Get back in there and finish the class. I don't get, but like you stubbed your toe, you have a cut. I can't do it. Oh, you're going to finish to the very last stinking minute. You're going to go until it ends.
That's because we were all raised with, you start something, you finish it. And whether that is the thing that you continue with or not, same with kids, whether they start soccer and move into a different, I had a football player who went rugby, Keith, and then he ended up going to Grand Canyon University and playing rugby there after Nebraska Wesleyan football Division III. So, the finish and the start and the stop and all of that, it's,
Well,
our wiring versus the generations now.
well, that could take us a whole different direction, and I know we're out of time, but yeah, it is that whole deal. The transfer portal.
Yeah, the portal.
It's just created just okay, and so we are. I read recently about a young man who's I think going to play for his seventh football team, which again I don't think that's good. I don't think it's good for him. Maybe it's good for the football teams he's played for, but
How is 7 football teams in what, 3 years or 1, 2? I mean, in a compressed amount of time, good for anybody.
well, and you just and again, I know some people start school one place and they finish someplace else, and that's okay. I talked to a young lady recently that is doing that. She's in the midst of doing that, and I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. But
No.
but yeah, we need to finish what we start. And I know, I grew up. My mom taught me to leave places better than I found them, and I know you guys probably heard the same kind of thing. But I like to talk about leaving people better than you found them, and I think that is what we can do when we do speak truth into some lives and say, "Don't quit." You're on the verge. Push through.
I was waiting for you to bring up truth because it's on your sweatshirt.
He's wearing a sweatshirt with truth on it.
And
Yeah,
literally, you just did it. And what a great way to kind of wrap that whole thing up. Meeting people and leaving them better than you found them. That I love that. But the truth of what all we do in higher education. So
for
super
sure.
cool.
Well, there
Hey,
you have
fun
it,
to talk to you
everybody.
guys.
Yeah,
fun to talk to you.
what a great episode, Keith, for you to be with us and bring your insights to the table, and we appreciate it very much. And Christy, I love having you here. You're welcome back anytime.
Love it, Joe.
Ladies
I'm
and
glad
gentlemen,
I'm on the last one of the year. I didn't
the
even
last one of the year.
the last one of 2025.
Yeah, so shout out to the co-founder Elvin Freitas. Please do not schedule any more for me between now. I am officially on vacation as of the completion of this podcast episode until the 2nd of January.
I think I am too, but maybe, but almost. I got to go do some Christmas something because it's happening like a week away.
Yes, it is. You better get on that, Christy.
I know, and my kids are in their 20s, but I still got to get the
yeah.
stockings and all the stuff, So anyway.
Well, we hope you both have, I do hope you have a great holiday, Merry Christmas. And I want to outro our guest appropriately. He's our guest today. No, he's your guest today, listeners. He's Dr. Keith Newman. He's the president of Southern Nazarene University. Keith, thanks for being here. We hope you had fun.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp. Be honest with yourself for a second. How much of what you're doing at work right now is actually working? That question came up again and again in Insights EDU last year. You guys already know this isn't your typical higher ed conference. And I've got to be honest, I've been to a lot of higher ed events, and Insights EDU is just different. The conversations are direct, the sessions are outstanding, and the people in the room are there to fix real problems, not defend the status quo. That's why Insights EDU 2026 matters. It's 3 days in Fort Lauderdale, February 17 to 19, focusing on real strategy for higher ed. No fluff, no recycled playbooks, just what works now. You can keep wasting time with what feels safe, or you can get in the room where smarter decisions are being made. Register today at insightsedu.com.
You just made the list!
Attention.
It's time to register for Lucian Live, April 19th through 22nd, 2026 in Denver, Colorado, advancing infinite possibilities. And it's higher education without limits. Don't just keep up with change, lead it. Higher ed leaders from around the world are coming together at Lucian Live 2026. Across 4 unforgettable days, you'll discover new ways to meet students where they are and make the most of your technology through inspiring sessions and hands-on demos. Together, we're leveraging AI to create deeper human connections, support every student's journey, and open doors to lifelong learning. See you in Denver. Register now at elive.elucian.com.